Hello everyone, this is Jeffrey Grutner again, and this is going to be a video that's an extension of the previous series. And we're out here to do a ceremony, a new moon ceremony, but one that honors this grand sextile, these two intertwined grand trines that I explained in the previous videos, that is related to this sacred geometry, about an ability to bring spirit into matter, and why this time is so integrated. And at this particular video, I'm not going to repeat all of that information, but I did want to just introduce the idea, and we have a few participants here who are going to walk this labyrinth. Where are you, Stu? Trying to hide there. Anyway, so there's four of us, and we've already been chatting and preparing, getting ready. And I'm not going to record every aspect of this, but some people asked to have a recording. So we've already established a sacred space. And what I want to do is, first of all, this is a triangular piece of parkland that has these beautiful ring of oaks and some other trees, and it is adjacent to a natural feature that now has Ide Mill Road. So down beneath that is a valley that used to have a trout creek in it, and they ran the railroad through it, and now there's a road. And anyway, so we're on Summit Avenue in St. Paul, and one of the reasons that I chose this spot is because, by and large, this is near the center point between the major sacred sites of the Twin Cities area. And those sacred sites that I'm referring to are up the area of the Mounds Park in St. Paul, and the St. Anthony Falls in Minneapolis, and where the two rivers meet, Bidote or Mendota. And those are three major sites. And while I'm referring to them as sacred sites, and they are known as sacred to the native people who identified them, and they have a cultural relationship to them, I'm talking about it because as universal sacred sites, because it is where natural energy comes together with spiritual energy. So that's not just, to me, not just sacred to the native people, but sacred to all people. There are stories written into the land there, and there's the swirls of energy that help us to open to spaces beyond our own time and space. And therefore, there are ways to connect. And there are earth energies. Some people refer to them as ley lines, but there's other kinds of energies that circulate through the earth. People focus on those, but someday I'll write my book and explain some of the others. But bottom line is, we're here, and I found this space, actually, what would it be, 31 years ago now, when there was another astrological configuration, when Uranus was conjunct Neptune. And I was guided to do altogether 4 ceremonies, 3 throughout the year 1993, at each of those sacred sites I just mentioned, and the 4th one that integrated all 3 of those. And this center, this isn't exactly the center. I want to mention that, but it was one of the spaces we used where the public met, because it's a park space and is a good, relatively quiet space. So that's our setup. And as I turn around here again to the north, that we have the the star tetrahedron and the pattern on this labyrinth that we're going to walk in a minute with our intention. And that here to the north, at the time we set up in this direction, on the other side of the planet, obviously, or set, was the planet Uranus, close to the Pleiades. And moving in a direction towards the west, so that's the north. And it is going to be opposite. On the other side, we have the moon and Mercury are set up, and they are exactly opposite at this point in time. And they were in the south. And so now moving over here to the northwest, so having set recently, is Jupiter, and it is opposite Venus on the other side. That too was a significant thing. In the videos, I explained how the oppositions are like full moons, and the heightened energy can be resolved. Either we might feel them as tension, but when we resolve them and they work together, then something creative can happen. Directly in the west is Mars. Mars was setting, so it had significant extra potency, and across from it is Pluto. That Mars-Pluto I'm going to mention is kind of pivotal, because Mars-Pluto is a kind of energy where a person can be really irritated and get angry easily and be insistent on trying to take control of things out of their own will. And in other words, using force to take power and authority is one way it can manifest. Another way that many of us are familiar with is taking action out of our courage for the sake of the benefit of all. And one example of that I thought of are the people who go into disaster areas. They set aside their own needs in order to go and serve other people. And therefore, as things are breaking down, and Pluto is in a position in the sky where a lot of our systems are breaking down, either because we're doing it, as we lose confidence in the institutions of our government and other ways of knowing things, or they have just gotten cumbersome and no longer work. Either way, it's breaking down. And as I had explained in previous videos, these planetary energies that are, they're the outer planets, and they are big forces in our human experience. And it's all about to shift dramatically. And even if we weren't in the middle of this very consequential election, we would be experiencing that. And to some degree, people they'd be feeling anxious anyway, because in a sense, the ground that we knew and the way things work is changing so fast that the rug might feel like the rug's being pulled out from under us, and we might be feeling anxious anyway. But it is synchronicity that we are trying to decide at this point. What direction will the United States go? But in reality, it's all over the world. And the old paradigm consciousness is that we're going to use force to control people. Force and destruction. And we see that all over the world. The other is we can use our energy, our personal energy and strength, to support the things that need to break down and regenerate things that serve people better, where there is more empowerment, more equality. So that's kind of the key to what we're out here doing today, is that this is an intention walking a prayer here in this, near the energetic center of the whole Twin Cities area. And by honoring these other sacred sites, by connecting to them, and the fact that we've done ceremonies numerous times, and other people have done ceremonies in the same places, but we did something there starting 32 years ago now. And one of these planetary configurations is now very active in terms of opportunities that we can create to bring forth a higher vision and, again, more equality, and using technology for higher good instead of deception. And those are our choices, because we all know that the technology right now is being used to deceive us, to gaslight us. And that's all old consciousness. Again, we could have a long discussion about that, but I wanted to just sort of set the stage that this is what we've chosen to do here. And I wanted to share it through this video because some people requested. And so some of what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and walk around, just mark where these planets are in the directions that they actually exist. Here's the sun, and there's the sun above us. Here's the sun, and there is the moon that is still considered new because it won't quite be visible tonight. You'll be very, very lucky to see it. It's still in the same sign, and it's with Mercury. And many of these, well, I won't go into the astrology, and I already mentioned that they were opposite Uranus. Venus is opposite Jupiter. Pluto is on the ascendant. It's rising. Pluto is about this long cycle. And the fact that it is rising in this particular instant with this ceremony represent the notion of regeneration and collective empowerment, at least how I'm going to envision it, and not the dark side, which is people trying to take authority and power by force or by lies and deception. So one of the ways that we can do that is by focusing on universal truths. Here's Saturn. It represents bringing our truth into the real world that we all live. And it can sometimes be hard to do that, but it's about working step by step through time to do that. And here's Neptune, and this was the planet that represents the two ends of the spectrum. Highest vision, universal love, compassion, or deception, illusion, delusion, and escapism. And some people want to escape the reality that is and that is coming. Enough of the oppositions. The easiest thing, because we don't know exactly what's going to come, but if what we're holding in our heart is those high ideals that we can all agree on and we bring into our everyday life, that we live it, our everyday life, and through the ceremony that we do, the simple rituals that we do, holding that frequency, even if you do have your own dream, but if you're holding that, you're holding on to the greatest truth. And we're literally going to walk it into the ground here with this sacred geometry and in connection with what's going on out there in the cosmos. There's the sun, there's the moon, we can't see all the planets, but they're laid out in this circle. And the last one here is Chiron. And Chiron is that shamanic energy that takes a kind of wound and turns it into a medicine, a specialized knowledge. Chiron is in a position that it was when the United States was declared. And while it represents the capacity for setting out and in starting anew and setting off on an adventure to create your own identity, an individual who can set off on their own journey to create the identity that they want, and by sharing their specialized knowledge through compassion for others to learn, we all grow. And it's key because this is, the United States is dealing with this again. Are we going to go back to a wound? You know, we to remember that during the revolution, we chose to go a new path, broke away from a monarchy and a system of government that didn't allow common people to be represented, and chose to create something new where the individual can make their own way. But in that initial forming of the government, they didn't include everyone. And because it's in a relationship now with the planet Jupiter, it's just how we form our government, the philosophy, and with Venus, this is the feminine perspective, that idea of inclusiveness, of having a social environment that honors everybody equally. You know, these are some of the aspects of Venus. I'm not going to go through all of it. But I wanted to give some reminders so that we have a sense of kind of why we're doing this and why it is so connected to our current time. Now, one of the things that I want to do is I wrote a piece last winter to express some of these ideas about, you know, what was implicitly or directly left out of the vision of what the United States could be. And this is the preamble to the Declaration of Independence, which was a powerful document. And the way it was written, it was consistent with the times and how the founders understood it. But the language wasn't complete. Maybe even the ideas weren't complete, because it said all men created equal. Well, all human beings. So we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all human beings are created equal, that we are a part of the natural world, that we are endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are the right to a personally sovereign life, the liberty to be exactly who we are, the right to pursue our fulfillment, spiritual development, and happiness in an equitable economic system, in concurrence with our responsibility to all humanity, the life of the planet, and to future generations. That may not be the perfect be-all and end-all, but it wasn't back in 1776 either. But I think it extends from that kind of the DNA of those words and extends it to a more complete sensibility of the pieces that were left out. So here we are in nature, about to hold those intentions and whatever else my good friends have for our future, one of unity based on cooperation and that love and compassion. We know that human beings survived and flourished because they were able to cooperate with each other. it wasn't just that they were, you know, able to, when they were able to cooperate to be able to conquer territory and accomplish things. That was a piece of it. And that was the piece that got distorted to the point that now, as we are a world community, that we have to find our way through that identity crisis of we're just, you know, Christian Americans, or we're just, you know, those are Africans and those are Chinese, but that we're all human beings and we all share this planet. All right, I'll set aside the preachy right now, but I think y'all get the picture. And some of the rest of this, I think we'll video a little bit about how the walk works. This walk of the sacred geometry and of the Pleiades, which is what Marilyn, who created this, she called it the walk of the Pleiades. So we honor that. And I'm going to do some other ceremonial pieces. I'm going to sing a sacred song. And as one who walks with the sacred Chanupa, I'm going to load that pipe. And so pause it here. All right, so we're ready to hold our intentions and walk this labyrinth. Now there is some songs that go with it that I'm not sure we're going to try because we don't know it. I don't know it very well. But we had the creator of those songs sing it for us through the phone, and we may figure out a way to honor that. But just for the sake of the video and the idea of how the weaving works, it would be better if we had 6 people, because then you can really see how you weave things together. Just that simple concept that people can be walking in different directions but weaving a sacred pattern. Just take that idea to your everyday life, because we're walking our own path. And what are we carrying with us? And when we encounter people and how we weave, you know, whatever our intentions for a higher vision. And like I said, the easiest thing, every avatar that ever came, every representation, every spiritual teacher, they talk about love, compassion, and taking care of each other. And that's a path forward. And when we consider a person that we may even disagree with, if that's what they're holding in their heart and that's what you're holding in your heart, then you're in the same vibration together. And those differences can become some kind of creative thing. Every time we go back to an us and them, and those are the bad people and we're the good people, we're going back to old consciousness, the kinds of things we need to leave behind. As Martin Luther King said, you know, judge the person by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin or their gender or their religion or their whatever those superficial identity labels may be. And I know they're more important, that they're not just superficial, they're not just labels. But in many respects, they are. And Martin Luther King also said that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And so the 4 of us, this is a little tiny piece that we're trying to do. And maybe from wherever you are who are listening to this, you're doing your tiny piece. And hopefully it will help, but we know it will help us because we're living our truth. So I need 2 volunteers to step out. Okay. And grab one of the corners. You can grab this, and so we start by we're saying here that we're in the triangle. I don't know if you can hear me Fenella, you may have to zoom it in so the microphone picks up my voice and not the noise. Okay? All right. So I'll speak louder as well, and hopefully we'll pick this up. Basically, we're going to move. I'm going to move to the left towards you. You're going to move the left towards, and we'll end up at each different point. Okay? So let's do that. So walk the path of the triangle. And now from here, we're going to rotate 1/6 of the circle. So follow the circle over to the next point. And then we're going to do, nope, circle, there you go, to the next point. So now we're on the same triangle. And when we're on the triangles, there is a supportive kind of energy that manifests when we're talking about astrology. But we also know the stability of triangles, many other symbolism embedded within it. But we're going to go ahead and continue this path. And like I said, if we had 6 people, they could be walking it all at the same time. Then you really see the weave. All right, so let's walk again. And now we're going to go 1/6 around the circle to the next point. And then we can repeat. Let's do that. Let's repeat this. And then we go here. But we're always ending up in the same position. So this time, if we had 3 other people, we rotate further. And so just to demonstrate that, we're going to do it. And then that's probably going to be enough for the video. I hope that you see that what we're doing this. And when you're holding this intention and walking this simple pattern, we're mimicking that star tetrahedron that brings spirit and matter together in the light of the Creator. And that's the intention, as we're holding our own intention of that dream that we have, not only for ourselves, but for all of humanity. Okay, so we're going to rotate. Now we're in different starting positions. Same triangle, but in different starting positions. Right? Now, the other thing about this pattern is that we're walking the triangle as the more angular part of this. But the flower of life is also sacred geometry, these intersecting circles. And ultimately, you could be walking those or tracing those as well. So that through this simple act of walking, it's like movement. It's like somebody doing dance or something like that. But it's movement while we're holding intention. So I think what we're going to do now is we'll end this video. I'll say Mitakuye Oyasin. We'll finish our ceremony. Fenella will walk this with us. And we send blessings to all of you and hope that you're tuning in your way, that at this time of the new moon and this consequential time. And I hope this was helpful. Grateful for you listening. Mitakuye Oyasin. All right, well, we have concluded the ceremony, but I just thought I would take another pan of the beauty and the people who showed up. No, you guys stay right where you're at. You don't want to be in the, anyway, here are the folks that participated. Maybe we won't name them to protect the innocent, but anyway, here we are. So we sat here, we did our songs, we did the walk, and we smoked a pipe and offered our prayer and connected to other places. really around the world and to other people. And I think even with this simple thing in this simple space, I know mine was. So anyhow, that's our conclusion on Matakias.